In this video, I'm going to be showing you exactly how to use Keepa and Amazon FBA in 2025. So Keepa is a £15 per month bit of software that is absolutely crucial for anyone running an Amazon FBA arbitrage business. It's something that I use on a daily basis, as do all my staff, and it allows me to source and analyze all the products that I'm buying. Today, I'm going to be showing you how I use each data analysis section of Keepa, including all the key information that you need to know that I look out for when I'm actually looking at a listing. And finally, I'm also going to show you a very brief preview of how I use Keepa to source profitable products to sell on Amazon. So I've been selling on Amazon now for over 2 years, and at the time of recording this video, I've sold over £3.4 million worth of products, which in the process has made me just under £500,000 in profit. Now, I simply couldn't have done any of that without having access to the data that Keepa provides. It would just be impossible. Now, before we get into how I'm using Keepa, I'm currently giving away a free gift on my website. So it's a document of over 100 different retailers that I've sourced profitable products from previously. So this list of suppliers could be an absolute game changer for your Amazon FBA business, whether you're completely new to it or you're already an experienced seller and just want more places to look, especially if you're able to combine that with all the information I'm about to tell you in the rest of this video. So head down to the video description and click the link at the top and scroll to the bottom of my website to claim the free document. So right, let's get into the video. Alright, so before I get into any kind of specifics, just to give you guys a brief overview of how to actually read a Keepa chart. Here on the side, you've got this key here where you kind of can tell what color line corresponds to what thing. So for the most part, we're going to be looking at the buy box line because this is the actual line that's here. It's kind of the history for that price on the buy box. We've also got some other stuff. So we've got like the Amazon price. So on this particular listing, you can see the buy box price is currently about 76 quid. Been about that for a while now, but Amazon has been consistently above that. They've always been at like 96, sometimes even higher, up to 115 in the past. You're also able to see the history of like used items as well, which I don't know, it's not the most helpful thing for when you're looking at a brand new deal, but if you are looking to resell returns and stuff like that, is, a really good thing to know. And down here as well, at the bottom of the chart, you can see we've got lines for the rating of the product, the review count of the product, as well as the amount of offers on the listing. So if we view the past year, you can see kind of a bigger summary of the data. You can see there's been this sudden huge jump in sellers and the price is just kind of went in a free fall basically. So though it might seem a little bit overwhelming at first because you've got all these bits of data and all these lines on the chart, it's really not that hard. It's just a simple line graph, and if you just look at the key at the side, you'll be able to see what all of these things actually correspond to. So when you're looking at Keepa, there are so many different data points to consider, but there is one thing that is probably the most important thing to be checking when you're doing online arbitrage. So online arbitrage is basically just where you're finding something that's more expensive elsewhere and selling it on Amazon or somewhere else for a higher price. And so obviously with that, the most important thing that you want to be looking at is the price history. Is this item consistently profitable? So we've got this product here as an example. Now, ignoring the fact this doesn't even sell that great anyway, if we have a look at the price history here, if we're saying that we want to be selling it at like 898, £900 basically, this would not be a very good product if it wasn't profitable at these lower price points, because the price does jump about a bit. But for the most part, we're seeing it sitting about 700, 750 quid, which if our buy price is around that price anyway, it's not going to be profitable. And we can see there are points here, like for instance, so this is October the 4th, and on October the 30th is when it changed in price. So that's basically like a whole month that it was at £900. But we can see here, if we look at the sales rank, so each time the sales rank drops, it indicates a sale. So we can see that during that whole month, when it usually sells a lot better, it only sold like 2 or 3 times. So that's not very encouraging when that's a whole month that it's been up at that higher price. And when it is at this higher price, there's just usually a very little amount of time to actually capitalize on it. So I think, I don't think this is going to be too great of a deal because yeah, at those higher prices, doesn't really sell that well, and the price history is really iffy. If we're buying it for like 650, 700, we're not going to be able to sell at that price without losing money because of the fees, shipping, stuff like that. So not a good lead. You want to be looking for something that has just a pretty straight line on that graph, consistent price history over a long period of time. For instance, if we have a look at this coffee machine here, we can see the pricing is really, really stable. Over the past 3 months, it's barely changed. There's some bits where it's at 159, most recently at like 139, 129. So this is the sort of graph that we're going to be looking at, just nice and consistent. Obviously it's taken a dip more recently, But you know, that happens. Product prices do change over time. So if we can try and look for deals where the pricing is fairly straight, consistent, that's really the best sort of deal, because there's just a proven track record of it selling at a profitable price, and we don't need to worry about it dipping and flying all over the place, basically. Now, unlike other marketplaces on the internet like eBay, Amazon is a little bit unique because Amazon themselves also stock products on Amazon. This can be a bit of a headache for third-party sellers because there are such thing as Amazon-dominated listings where Amazon is the main seller on that listing and no one else is really able to compete with them. Generally, you can sell a good amount of products that have Amazon on the listing as a competitor. There's a good chance you'll just have to undercut them in price and knock a few quid down versus what they're actually selling it for, which obviously, if you're sourcing a lot of low margin products, could be an issue to kind of take into account. But there are some listings where Amazon is getting the buy box 100% of the time, and you're probably going to want to avoid those because if you try and compete on that listing, you're just not going to get any sales. So this looks to be like one of those listings. So often with SaaS, you'll get an alert here actually, or we'll have a little BB sign, either in red or in orange, saying that Amazon does not share the buy box. Couldn't find a listing at short notice with one of those. But this is a listing that looks to be the case. So you can see here, it's got really nice sales and everything, so that looks great. Price history is mostly pretty consistent, so it doesn't look like a terrible lead at first. But if we head into data and we go to buy box statistics, you can see that Amazon are winning the buy box 100% of the time. Now this is despite other sellers being on the listing previously and being at competitive prices. So because of that, I would probably want to give this one a miss because it's going to be extremely hard, if not impossible, to get the buy box off Amazon. It's a common mistake that I see a lot of new sellers kind of falling into, seeing a product that is fully Amazon dominated and they're going for it, not really realizing that it's just going to be almost impossible for them to capture any of those sales. So it's a really good thing to just be checking whenever you're looking at a product. Is Amazon on the listing and are they just dominating the buy box? You know, just them being on the listing alone is a bit of a concern, but if they're dominating the buy box, I'd want to avoid that product completely. Next up, I want to talk about variation listings and how you analyze those variation listings with Keepa to avoid buying something that might at first seem like it sells really well, but the reality is it just doesn't. So this is the thing here that we've got on screen now. We can see there's some gloves, mechanics gloves, something like that. We can see the estimate on SaaS says that this item sells 120 times a month. So, you know, straight away you might be thinking, wow, you're obviously getting this at a really good price. It's really, you know, sells really well, but all is not as it seems. So this listing is a giant variation listing. There's loads of different colors, there's loads of different sizes, and these sales, though maybe fairly accurate, are shared across all of these different variations. And if you're just buying the medium wolf grey gloves, you know, you're going to want to know how well does that specific size and color sell versus the other ones on the listing, because, you know, it could be entirely possible that, you know, the people buying these gloves only want a specific shade of green and they just don't buy the grey ones at all. Or maybe everyone that buys these has extremely large hands and just the medium size just doesn't sell. These are all things you want to kind of consider and check. So if we head down on SaaS, I know this is a Keepa video, but SaaS and Keepa are very much kind of intertwined when it comes to analysis. There is one feature called the variations review checker, where you can check the amount of reviews that that product has. Now, often what some people do is they'll take this estimate of sales up here, and then they'll go onto this, they'll check the percentage of reviews that that variation gets. Say it's getting 20%, they'll assume that it gets 20% of the sales. Now, it's okay, it's an okay method, it's better than nothing, but it's a little bit flawed. And the reason why is maybe it sold really well at some point because of a certain trend, or maybe it was a lot cheaper at some point, and that's where those reviews are from, and it's just not recently had any reviews. All this data could even be from like other marketplaces, so it's not a very reliable way to actually estimate the sales, to be honest. I much prefer using Keepa, so I'll head on to Keepa, and the main things to be checking is the data tab and the variations tab. So first off, let's start with the variations tab. So we can head into here and we can click open in product viewer. So this will allow us to view all of the different items and all the different variations on this listing, as well as their corresponding sales ranks. So from here, we can see all of the sales ranks for nearly all of these products are either 12,970 or 47,000 and something. Sales rank basically just determines how well that product sells. So the lower the number, the better it sells. As a product sells, the sales rank decreases, and you can even see this on the graph as we showed in one of the last sections, that you get that green line showing the sales rank. Every time it drops, that indicates a sale. So in this variation listing, this is what is called a linked variation. And that is where all of the other variations on that listing, or nearly all of them, they share the same sales rank. Now, essentially what this means for us in this case is that all of these products here with this 12,900, they're all linked. And when one sells, the sales ranks for all of those different variations change with it. So it could be the case here that we've got this extra large black pair. Maybe this is the only glove that sells. And even though this is receiving 100% of the sales ranks for all of these other sizes and colors are going to change with it. So it's something to account for, because it means there could be a variation that SAS says sells really well, but the reality is it just doesn't sell like at all. Now, there are some variations that will have completely different sales ranks for every single product within that variation, and it's safe to assume that this estimate on SAS should be fairly accurate for that specific variation. But in this case where it's all linked, we know that, yeah, this estimate is not accurate for that specific size and color. It is indeed shared across all these different variations. And so in this case, we're probably going to be looking at some other bits of data on Keepa to try and verify how well this product sells, or, you know, maybe it doesn't sell at all. So we'll go into data, and we can go into the offers section here, and we can have a look at the stock count for other sellers on the listing. So you also want to account for sellers that have sold out previously. So we can turn on this include historical offers bit here, and then we can have a look at all of the previous sellers that have sold this particular size and color. So if we zoom out and do, let's say, last 365 days, we can see this seller is, first of all, seems to have been moving some units. February 18th, they had 16. Now they currently have 6. So it sells very slowly, but does appear to sell a little bit. The only problem with this seller, and the same with this seller down here, is that these are FBM sellers. We have no idea whether they're actually selling these on Amazon or if they're selling them through their own website. It's just unclear because it's just the stock count they have at their warehouse, so it could have been sold anywhere. What I'll usually do is I'll toggle FBA only so that we can just see other FBA sellers. And unfortunately on this listing, there just isn't any. This is quite a weird item to sell. It's a very random product and no one else has sold it previously. So yeah, we've got Amazon on the listing, but they're very unreliable. You can see they've just been saying they've had 1,000 the whole time. There's a brief dip here where they had 5 and 8, but like it's not really, we want to be looking for like a staircase pattern realistically to show steady sales going down. We can have a look at some other sellers, see if there's anyone else that seems to have kind of been selling these or not selling these. So we've got this person who had 8 and then had 7, and they had 7 from like July 2024 up until still now to this day. This guy had 2 from November, still has 2. It does seem to be the case with all of these sellers, even those that are FBM or SFP that might have been selling it elsewhere as well. It just seems that this product doesn't sell very well. And because there's been a lack of FBA sellers in the past and we can't see any for definite kind of sales history, I would say it would be extremely high risk to purchase this product, because we know for a fact now that the sales ranks are linked, so the estimate on SAS is not accurate. We also can't see any previous stock history changes for any FBA sellers, only FBM, which means it's just not very reliable data to be counting on. And if we also head over to SellerAmp SAS, if we have a look on the monthly sold chart, or more the lack of one, there is no golden line chart here, which is kind of the savior of other sellers looking at the listing, where it doesn't show any monthly sold history. Just to remind you, in case you've forgotten or you're not familiar with it, the monthly sold history is like this. So this product obviously sells really well. It is a variation, but because we've got this monthly sold history, we know that this product is definitely selling, as this is specific to this one variation of the product. And we can see very consistently it's been doing at the lowest like 300 units a month, if not more. Now this chart comes with its own problems because it's monthly sold. It's in the past 30 days. It doesn't necessarily mean it's selling that well now, but at least if you do see that chart, it has sold at least 50 in a month. This line does not appear unless a product is selling at least 50 units. So if you do see this chart, you can be sure that it probably does sell. There's a complete lack of it on these gloves, and so I wouldn't really want to be purchasing them. Next up, I want to show you guys the Keepa tracker. So this gives you a notification when a product on Amazon is at a desired price. So this could be a low price, so maybe you notice that an item goes down to a certain price point at some point, and that makes it profitable to buy at that low price to then sell when it returns to its usual regular price. So that can be really useful for Amazon to Amazon deals. But for OA as well, it can be really great. It can be used to track when prices on Amazon are a little bit inflated and there might be a chance to make a bit of money. So I'm just going to quickly cover kind of how it works and how you can set it up yourself. So if we have this coffee machine here, let's say we found this for 90 quid at a retailer or some other supplier. So at the current price of 129 quid, it's not very profitable. It's only 5% ROI. You wouldn't really want to be buying that. But we can see on the price history before, it's been as high as 169, though it's, you know, over the past year, for the most part, it's been at like 159. So if we change this to 159, we can see that we are making a really good profit and ROI at this point. So what would be really good is if we have spotted this product for 90 quid, if we can just get a notification anytime that it goes above, say, let's say at 150. Yeah, we'll say 150. So anytime this goes above 150, we want to get a notification from Keepa. So we can paste this ASIN into Keepa like so. So we just go into the products, hit scan, and then go on to track product here. And then from here, you can set up all of these different filters. You can get it to notify you based on sales rank, rating, review count, even like used offers and stuff like that, which can be really, really interesting. But generally, we just want to be messing with these first couple. So we've got the buy box price and the Amazon price. So for Amazon to Amazon deals, you obviously want to be setting up with the Amazon price. For the buy box though, we could just use, you know, the regular buy box if we're doing OA, where it's, we would just want a notification whether it's at a high price, even if Amazon aren't on the listing. So let's change this to 150 quid or more. We can just get rid of the Amazon fields because we don't want to track that. We just want to track the buy box and nothing else. So literally as easy as that. We can then toggle how long we want to track it for. So, you know, maybe we want to track it for a few months, or maybe, you know, we want to do a full year. Simple as that. Hit start tracking. You will now get an update whenever there is any sort of price history in your range. By default, you'll just get an email, but you can also set it up via Telegram, push notifications, mobile app, loads of other stuff. So yeah, if you want to be tracking Amazon to Amazon products, or just, you know, potential price and opportunities when prices on Amazon are a little bit inflated, this is the go-to tool for you to be using. I have a similar sort of system in place for A2A deals, though I actually don't use the Keepa product tracker. I actually use a bit of software called Chaos that we've previously done a video on. Go check out the interview with Jack, who made Chaos. Chaos automatically buys you deals when they've met your desired price. And it's the only software in the world that has the capability to actually automatically buy products off Amazon for you. And so I have a huge list of ASINs tracked using Chaos, and whenever those meet my desired buy price, it will automatically buy those from my account. Now, this software is actually closed to the public normally, but by working my magic, I've managed to incorporate it within my mentorship program. So if you're interested in that at all, head down to the video description and book in a consultation call with me just to kind of get me up to speed with where you're at with the Amazon business and decide whether or not it would be right for you. So I guess one of the more slightly slept on features of Keepa, but one of the most, you know, important bits of it is definitely the product details section for a listing. So when you're doing arbitrage and you're looking at another website and you're trying to work out the actual product listing for that product on Amazon, it's super important that you're actually buying the correct product and it's not some sort of mismatch. I mean, it's bound to happen at some point. It's definitely happened to me numerous times when I've thought that I'm buying the correct product and I'm thinking that it matches the Amazon listing because it looks very similar, but turns out it's a slightly different model, and then I've got customer returns and removal. It's a whole headache you want to try and avoid realistically. So head on to Keepa, go to data, go to product details, and you'll get loads of information about the listing. So from here, we can see the EAN for the product. We can also see the manufacturer part number, as well as information like the type of product, the manufacturer, the brand, and the model number, stuff like that. All this information is essential if you're looking at another retailer and just definitely trying to make sure that it's the correct product. I mean, you want to make sure that the model numbers match, the EAN number also matches, as well as any like part numbers and stuff like that as well. If it doesn't, probably best to skip over it, because, you know, you don't want to be sending the wrong product to Amazon's customers, because yeah, it's just a nightmare. From this page as well though, you can see a lot more information. So you can see lots of detailed statistics about the sales rank, where it's been in the past 30 days, 90 days, 180 days, even a whole year. This can be really useful, particularly for stuff like seasonal products where it might have sold more recently like really well, but over like a longer period of time didn't sell as great. So this coffee machine in particular, we can see in the last 30 days the sales rank has actually been a lot lower than it has been previously. So for some reason right now it's selling better than it has historically. If we have a look at the monthly sold chart, it does indeed confirm this. In fact, this unit actually sells more now than it ever has previously. But the reason is it's fairly easy to spot. It's currently at 129 quid. Previously it was at like 150, 160, 170. So that small drop in price has just made a lot more buyers click that buy now button. You're also able to see statistics about the pricing, the buy box price, Amazon price, new price, all of these other statistics. There's, you know, almost too many to go through all of them, to be honest. But from there, you'll be able to get a real good idea for the pricing history on the item, though. To be honest, I mainly just use the pricing chart because it's a little bit easier to read. But from here as well, it's great because it's really easy to see kind of all this data overlaid with each other and kind of how it correlates. Like, for instance, when they've dropped the price more recently, you can see they were at 170. And this sales rank was just going up, and then they made the price more expensive and it went up even more to the point where it just wasn't selling that great. And then they drop the price and instantly you can just see the sales rank has gone down and down and down. And yeah, now it's an extremely fast selling product. Now, Amazon is really competitive. At the end of the day, there are hundreds of sellers out there trying to be the best at doing arbitrage, you know, some more successful than others. But there are a lot of listings where you might have heavy competition from other sellers that you might want to avoid, or at least think twice about buying too many, because there just could be so many other people on the listing that because of all those people competing and undercutting each other, and, you know, some might have bills to pay, debts to pay off, etc., the price just tends to slump and decrease, and tank is really the most common way of describing it. The price is tank. That's what everyone kind of says. If we have a look at this listing here now, if you're an experienced Amazon seller, you're probably shuddering at the sight of this ASIN once more. So many people got on this listing. In fact, at its peak, it had almost 200 different sellers competing on it. So you can see here that sellers did start to decrease and the price straight away started to slump a little bit. And then as more sellers have piled on, it's only kind of worsened the problem. It's at its lowest. I think that's coming close to like 50 quid at one point this item was, because of how many other people were on the listing. And sure, the price has slowly but surely been recovering as sellers have dropping off. You know, there's currently about 100 people on the listing, down from 170, and you can see pennies at a time, the price is going back up. But it's quite a long wait. You know, it's April now. This was all the way back in January, so it's 4 months now, and the price is still nowhere near what it was at before, when it was like 90 to 100 pounds. It's still down at like 75. Now, obviously, this listing has already tanked. We're kind of past the life cycle of when you would have bought this product. But if you are looking at a deal and you're seeing the price just slumping, even if it's just by pennies at a time, because that is how it starts. It starts at pennies. It may just continue as that, you know. But cheap items, if you're only making £1, it only takes 100 penny decreases to knock a whole quid off your profit, and if you're only making a couple quid, that could be everything. Obviously, this item's a little bit more expensive, but you can see there has been some points like here where you can see that the price jumped down from like 88 all the way down to like 74 all in one go. So someone was just obviously sick of it and just wanted to decrease the price as quickly as possible for whatever reason. So yeah, if you're looking at a chart and you're seeing the offer count is rising and the price is decreasing, it's a good sign that it's going to continue, and you're probably going to want to avoid it. In general, the aim of the game with arbitrage nowadays is to avoid the competition. If you're seeing listings like this with hundreds of other sellers on it, do not buy that product. And if you're seeing a little bit of an increase and the price slumping down, just be warned that it's likely going to continue. Really, you want to be sourcing in just different ways, you know, ways that are slightly out of the box that mean that other people don't really end up on the same listings that you're on. You just got to think outside of the box. I mean, easier said than done, especially when you're a beginner and you might not fully understand just the basics yet. But if you do want to succeed in this game, it is so imperative that you are just not following the crowd too much and not kind of doing what everyone else is doing. And finally, I want to talk a little bit about Keepa Product Finder sourcing. So Keepa has an absolutely huge database of basically every single product on Amazon, and they have a tool called the Product Finder that allows you to filter it down extremely well, you know, with almost every attribute you could possibly think of, and just filter that database to get a specific list of products. And a lot of people use this to then generate a list of products that they will then just Google and try and find suppliers for. So I'll be honest, I actually don't use this method much. I think it's just quite boring, to be quite honest. It's a lot of just, you know, searching products one by one. It takes a long time to fully understand the filters and get quite good at filtering products, so it's just never something I've put that much effort into learning. My knowledge is not the best on this particular feature. My VAs dabble in it, but for the most part, we just don't incorporate this method too much into our sourcing nowadays. But if you are a beginner and you're just looking for an easy way to find some products, it's a good method. It is a good method. At the end of the day, there are plenty of big sellers that do use this heavily. And if you can get really good filters, specifically for A2As as well, I think it's a very slept on way of sourcing Amazon to Amazon deals. If you can do stuff like that, there is crazy money to be made. You just have to be willing to put in the time and the patience. And I guess when I was kind of starting my Amazon journey, I wasn't willing to do that. And I instead just found other ways to source and, you know, plenty of ways to skin a cat, as they say. If we head into the filters here, you can see there is like so many filters, so many different ways to filter this massive database of products. So I can't give too much specific info about what filters are best or whatever, because as I said, I just don't really use this feature that much. But if we just do some pretty basic filters, if we look for, say, anything from a sales rank from 0 to let's say 10,000, just to not give us too many products, because you know, you don't want to be looking at a list of like 200 pages because it's going to be really hard to kind of filter through. I know a lot of people, once they've also set up other filters, they'll do stuff like they'll go from like 5,000 to 6,000. They'll filter through all that in one day. And then when they're done, then export a second list of like 6,000 to 7,000, just to give them like a manageable list to do in a day and search for, you know, suppliers for those products. So yeah, if we just keep it as, we'll keep it as just 0 to 10,000 for the sake of this video. And we can then do Amazon out of stock. So these are listings where Amazon is just not in stock right now. And those listings are going to be kind of the ones that we want to be aiming for, because they're not going to be Amazon dominated listings where they're just stealing the buy box the whole time. And there's a good chance that the prices are going to be a little bit more inflated than they usually are, because Amazon loves to match other retailers. And often if Amazon are on the listing, they're probably going to be one of the cheapest prices on the internet. So it gets a little bit harder to source products like that where Amazon are on it. So if we just do out of stock to just kind of eradicate them, and we can scroll down, we can also pick a particular category. So I'll do toys and games, since it's just a super huge category and there's loads and loads of arbitrage potential within toys and games. It's definitely probably the #1 category that I would recommend to new sellers. And we can also change the offer count settings. So I'll do a minimum of 3 offers. Now this is going to exclude a huge amount of private label products where it's just the brand or the company that owns that brand. It's just them selling that product, and we're not going to be able to sell on those listings because they will just restrict you. They will kick you off the listing, and it could potentially even get your account deactivated. So you're just not going to be wanting to mess with those sort of products. Always look for stuff where the manufacturer is not on the listing. If you go on the listing and you can see the brand themselves are on it, avoid. And if you also see that historically there's only been 1 or 2 sellers on the listing, you might want to be extra cautious because there could be a reason for that. So yeah, we'll just do 3 offers, toys and games, and we'll filter under 10,000 sales rank with Amazon out of stock. Now these are completely basic filters. It will take a lot more than this to kind of get really good products and really unique products as well. And it's worth playing about with this a lot. But yeah, just from that alone, we've got about 3,000 products to be looking for. So we'll click on find products to have a look at the results. I'm also going to go back and now, and I've just noticed there's a lot of products in here that are only like a few quid each, and it's going to be really hard after like FBA fees and stuff like that to sell products that are this cheap. So let's go back to the filter and we'll do a buy box of at least 30 quid, let's say. So that's slimmed down our list significantly, right? So now we've got just products that are at least £30, and just a case of now sorting through these. So let's head on to this listing. So we can see this Disney Store bullseye thing. We can just search the title, go on to Amazon. We can see it's 36 on Amazon. It's $32.99 on the Disney Store. We've also got it at this store here as well for $30.99. Can I see any other places selling it? No, I don't think so. Yeah, I think it's just those places right now which we can be stocking or looking at even. So yeah, we've got these two products here. Now, at neither of these sites is it cheap enough. For me, with like VAT reg figures and stuff, we're going to be aiming for at least 18 quid that we want to buy it for. With a bit less fees, probably 20 quid is the kind of the maximum we can really be paying for this item to make a profit. So obviously it's not cheap enough on these stores. Now, we could just give up and move on to the next product, but you might want to keep note of this product and maybe sign up to the mailing list for Disney. If they have a big sale, which I know that they often do because I've bought from Disney before and sold it on Amazon, there might be a coupon code where you get 40% off. So if we just do $39.99, take off 40%, that brings us right down to just under 20 quid, which would then make this profitable. You've also got cashback on top of that, which I don't account for when I'm, you know, into my profit figures because it's not 100% guaranteed going to pay out. but it's a nice little extra boost on top of it. So yeah, that's one potential product, but obviously couldn't find it at a profitable store just yet. But we just want to repeat this same process for every single product in this list. So we can have a look at Buzz. So you can see again, he's at the Disney store itself. Can't see any other places off the top of here that might be selling it. Google Shopping as well, really good place to be looking at. Allows you to compare prices from lots of different shops at the same time. We can see it is £19 at OnBuy, but I would avoid OnBuy. OnBuy is not a place you want to be buying from. It's a bit like eBay where it's a marketplace, so you could have fake products, but I say OnBuy is like even worse than eBay. So do not source from marketplaces. You only want to be sourcing from UK retailers, not AliExpress, not OnBuy, not eBay, not any of these type of places. Not unless you value your account health and don't want to be banned on Amazon, basically. So yeah, so we can see this is £32 at Disney. Seems to be the cheapest place that is actually available. But again, we just want to be keeping an eye on that product, seeing if there's any points where it gets put on sale or anything like that. I'm just going to skip over these other Disney ones, have a look at something a bit different. So we've got this drawing table. See, it's an ELC for actually a more expensive price, so you can get a voucher code and stuff like that, so that kind of brings it down a little bit. But yeah, there's a few different places. Got the nursery store, entertainer, Bargain Max. It seems to be the cheapest. I think it's on sale right now. So is that the same thing? No, not quite. I don't know. No, it is the same thing. Yeah, interesting. So yeah, again, we could be having a look at this store, adding it to our list of kind of products to keep an eye on, signing up to their mailing list, getting voucher codes whenever possible. And yeah, it really is just a case of going through all of these different products, you know, 100, or there's what, 230 in this list. So you want to go through every single product, do a really good search on Google, go to the second page or whatever, have a look on Google Shopping, try and find stores that might have it. And if you can't find it, but it's still a good looking listing, I would say, you know, keep an eye on it, maybe jot it down in like a spreadsheet or something like that and put like the desired price that you need. And then just check back on it regularly, you know, once a week, once every couple of weeks, just see if there's any sales on that could allow you to get that product for a good price. Now, this might seem quite time consuming, and to be honest, it is. Hence why I've never been too keen on it, because I'm all about trying to just do as minimal work as possible, really, for the maximum amount of profit. But it is something that you got to learn. Realistically, if you're a new seller and you can't think of other ways that are kind of more out of the box to be sourcing products, it's a great place to start. I know many people that are, you know, doing like 6 figures in profit a year, and this is their main sourcing method, either from sourcing Amazon to Amazon deals using Keepa Product Finder or just regular OA. So it's definitely possible to scale to really good levels with this tool if you have the time and the patience to work out the best filters for it and just kind of work out what filters other people aren't really using. So that's my free course on how to use Keepa for Amazon FBA in 2025. So if you have any questions about anything that I mentioned in this video, head down to the comments and drop a little comment below and I shall get back to you as soon as possible. You can also go to the video description and click the link at the top where you'll be able to hear more information about my Amazon FBA coaching program, which lasts 6 months and consists of a video course, one-to-one calls, group sessions, and even access to my private leads from me and my sourcing team. Finally, make sure to smash that like button and go and subscribe for more Amazon FBA content from me. And if you enjoyed this free Keepa course video, well, good news is there's much more free content. So click up here and you'll be able to see my online arbitrage course video where I explain the whole business model in much more detail and give away a load of free value about Keepa, SaaS, and everything else.